The arrival of the Galactic Military. It was an ordinary morning on Earth, or at least, it seemed so. People in New York City bustled around their daily routines, unaware of the monumental shift about to unfold above them. Suddenly, the sky was pierced by the sharp silhouette of something unlike any aircraft humanity had encountered before. It wasn't just large, it was enormous. A gleaming silver hull that gleamed as it blocked out the sun, casting a strange and unnatural shadow over the streets below. People stopped, frozen in awe, looking up as the massive craft hovered in silence, its surface reflecting the brilliance of the daylight, yet somehow exuding a foreboding presence. The ship descended slowly, gracefully, as if it had been waiting for the perfect moment to make itself known. Its shape wasn't entirely unfamiliar. Alien ships had visited Earth before, but this one was different. Unlike the usual diplomatic vessels that arrived for trade talks or cultural exchanges, this one radiated power. It wasn't designed for conversation. It was built for something else, something much more serious. Its sleek contours suggested advanced technology far beyond anything humans had ever seen, and its size alone spoke of a civilization with far greater resources than Earth could even imagine. At the United Nations headquarters, Commander Jack Ronsky stood at attention, his weathered hands resting behind his back. Ronsky, a man of 42 years with a face hardened by the wear and tear of military service, had seen many strange things in his career, but nothing like this. Even the most advanced alien ships they had encountered in the last 5 years since first contact didn't compare to the sheer size and strength of this one. The air was thick with tension as Ronsky and his colleagues observed the ship on the live feeds, tracking its every movement. There early, General Elena Voss muttered beside him, her voice tinged with concern. The Galactic Council was known for their punctuality, never arriving ahead of schedule. But now, they had come well before their expected time, and it felt wrong. Something was amiss. Before Ronsky could respond, the room flickered with the signature purple glow of a teleportation beam. In an instant, 3 alien beings materialized in the center of the room, their bodies illuminated by a soft ethereal light. The first 2 figures were immediately recognizable. Tall, slender, with smooth silvery skin that shimmered in the dim light of the conference room. They were the diplomats humanity had become accustomed to, species with whom Earth had established positive relations over the past few years. But the third figure was something else entirely. It wasn't just an alien. It was a force, something that radiated power and commanded respect. The creature stood at least 8 feet tall, its body encased in armor that shifted and shimmered like oil on water, reflecting the light in an ever-changing spectrum. Its 4 muscular arms were each gripped around a ceremonial weapon, the metal gleaming under the artificial light. Its eyes were compound lenses, multifaceted and shimmering in an array of colors that seemed to shift with every glance. The alien's presence alone filled the room, making the atmosphere heavy and tense. Commander Ronsky instinctively took a step back, his military instincts screaming that this was no ordinary diplomatic visit. "I am Supreme Commander Varric of the Galactic Defense Force," the massive figure announced, its voice deep and resonant, echoing through the room as if it carried the weight of centuries. The translator device attached to its body made the words sound almost musical, an eerie contrast to the military-like tension it conveyed. "We come with urgency. A threat unlike any the galaxy has faced in the last 1,000 cycles approaches. We require your species' assistance." Ronsky exchanged a quick, wary glance with General Voss. Earth had only recently become part of the galactic community, and though the humans had proven themselves capable in terms of trade and diplomacy, the Galactic Military had never shown much interest in their abilities. They had viewed Earth as a developing world, too primitive to be involved in any meaningful conflict. So why now? Why did they need Earth's help all of a sudden? "I thought you said Earth was too young for galactic warfare," General Voss said carefully, her voice edged with disbelief. "How is it that you're asking for our help now?" Varric's 4 mandibles twitched slightly, a sign, Ronsky knew, of discomfort or perhaps anger. That was an error in judgment, Varric admitted, his voice betraying no hint of emotion. We have studied your planet, your people. Earth has proven itself to be far more resilient than we anticipated. The holographic projection Varric conjured showed an expansive map of the galaxy. Red dots blinked across the screen like a virus, spreading in waves from the galactic rim, devouring everything in their path. Each red pulse marked a destroyed world. Entire civilizations wiped out by an unknown force. This force, whatever it is, has already destroyed 3 entire worlds. Varric continued. Our forces, as advanced as they are, have proven insufficient to stop them. And now we turn to you. Ronsky's eyes narrowed as he studied the data. He had learned over the years that the Galactic Military was not a force to be underestimated. Their ships were faster than anything humanity had, and their weapons were capable of incredible destruction. If they were admitting defeat, then the threat must be something far beyond anything the humans had encountered. But why us? Ronsky pressed, his voice steady despite the rising tension in his chest. Why do you need humans? We've had little involvement in galactic defense. What makes you think we can help? Varric's compound eyes locked onto Ronsky's, narrowing in what almost seemed like focus. Because, Commander, your species has adapted to conditions that would kill most other civilizations. Earth is classified as a death world, a planet so hostile that intelligent life should not have evolved here. Yet here you stand, thriving against all odds. The hologram shifted again, showing Earth's extreme environments, high gravity, volatile weather patterns, radiation storms, and dangerous wildlife. Your people have evolved to survive under these conditions, to fight for survival in ways that no other species can comprehend. You understand war in ways we do not. That is why we need you. The room fell silent as the weight of the words hung in the air. Earth was known as a death world to the galactic community, a place where life struggled to survive at every turn. But humanity had managed to thrive in spite of the odds. Ronsky's thoughts were racing. The Galactic Military wanted Earth's soldiers, not just for their strength, but for their ability to endure and adapt. But there was something about the urgency in Varric's voice, the pressure in the air, that made Ronsky uneasy. How much time do we have? Ronsky asked, his voice steady despite the growing uncertainty in his mind. 3 Earth days, Varric replied. You must decide quickly. The galaxy needs Earth's warriors. Do not let pride prevent you from accepting your species' true calling. As the aliens teleported away, Ronsky remained standing in the conference room, his mind spinning with the implications of what had just transpired. Earth's warriors. Why now? What was really at stake? He knew one thing for certain. They weren't being told everything. And in his experience, that meant danger. Get me everything we have on Galactic Military doctrine, Ronsky ordered his assistant. Something tells me we need to know a lot more before we make any decisions. The fate of Earth and the galaxy might depend on what they uncovered in the next 3 days. Testing Earth's strength. The 3 days given by the Galactic Defense Force were rapidly slipping away, but Commander Jack Ronsky wasn't about to rush into a decision without understanding all the facts. He stood in the command center, surrounded by screens flashing reports, images of devastated planets, and encrypted messages from his superiors. The request for assistance was undeniable, but the urgency that Varric and his allies had shown gnawed at him. It didn't sit right. There was something more behind their request that they weren't sharing. He couldn't shake the feeling that Earth was being drawn into something much larger than a simple intergalactic conflict. On the second day, Earth's leaders had been briefed on the military's request, and tensions were running high. Despite the concerns, Earth's military leaders agreed to proceed with a series of demonstrations, believing that these would help them assess what they were truly facing. The aliens had insisted on seeing Earth's warriors in action, eager to see just what humanity could bring to the table. The military's challenge was clear: prove that Earth's soldiers were as capable as the Galactic Defense Force believed them to be. The location chosen for the demonstration was a remote military base hidden deep within the Nevada desert, far away from any prying eyes. The barren landscape was stark and unforgiving, the perfect stage for what was about to unfold. Earth's military had prepared meticulously, crafting a series of tests designed to showcase the full range of human abilities: strength, endurance, combat prowess, and adaptability. When Varric and his retinue arrived at the base, their alien eyes scanned the surroundings with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Their ships had landed silently in the distance, their colossal forms towering over the dry earth. The desert air was harsh, dry, and thick with heat. The Galactic Defense Force, accustomed to more temperate environments, quickly activated their environmental suits to protect them from the extremes of Earth's atmosphere. "It's harsh here," Varric commented, his voice transmitting through his translator, which made his tone sound even more foreboding. "Your planet is as unforgiving as the reports indicated." Commander Ronsky stood a few paces away, observing the aliens closely as they acclimated to Earth's conditions. The challenge had begun, and it would only intensify from here. "Welcome to Earth," he said, his voice calm but carrying an edge. "If you want to see what humans can do, you'll see it now." The first test was deceptively simple, a demonstration of raw human strength. Private Tom Miller, an average soldier in terms of build but highly trained, stepped forward with a metal bar in hand. His task was to perform as many pull-ups as he could while suspended from the bar. As the first few repetitions passed, the aliens' translators hummed with a quiet hum, recording data, analyzing. When Miller reached 50 pull-ups, the alien observers exchanged quiet murmurs. "This is impossible," one of Varric's aides muttered under his breath. "The gravity here should be more than enough to exhaust him long before this." But Miller showed no signs of slowing. His muscles, honed from years of rigorous training, remained steady. His face remained calm and focused, unflinching in the heat and pressure of the desert. 100 pull-ups. Still, no signs of fatigue. Finally, at 200, Miller stopped. His palms slick with sweat, but his face still composed. He lowered himself to the ground, his legs steady, his breath steady despite the heat that had begun to rise around them. Varric's compound eyes flickered with interest, as though seeing something they hadn't expected. "Your species is stronger than we imagined." The next demonstration was more physical. The humans had prepared for a full endurance test, which was designed to push their soldiers to their limits. A group of 10 soldiers, heavily equipped with full combat gear, was ordered to begin running across the desert. Varric and his aides watched closely as the soldiers jogged at a steady pace, but they quickly began to understand the scale of humanity's endurance. A mile passed. 2, 5. The soldiers, though covered in layers of combat suits, moved with a determination that defied expectations. They were breathing hard, but they weren't slowing. A half-hour passed, then an hour, and still they kept running, never breaking their stride. "Enough," Varric called out, his voice filled with awe. "We understand now. Your endurance is unmatched." But the real test was still to come. Combat. The demonstration began with hand-to-hand combat, a fierce sparring match between two soldiers who were tasked with showcasing the tactical efficiency and raw skill of Earth's soldiers. The aliens had assumed that their technology and weaponry would be the measure by which Earth's warriors would be judged, but nothing could prepare them for the ferocity and speed with which the humans fought. The soldiers moved like lightning, their strikes clean and fast, their counters perfectly timed. Every movement seemed premeditated, yet spontaneous, like the human mind could process and react to battle situations in real time with incredible precision. As the aliens watched the combat, they quickly realized that the speed and skill of these soldiers weren't limited to physical capabilities alone. Earth's warriors could think on their feet, reacting and adapting faster than the aliens had anticipated. Even when one of the soldiers was disarmed, they used their surroundings to gain an advantage. demonstrating the same level of creativity that had been displayed during the endurance test. But it was the final test, the chaos simulation, that truly set humanity apart. The sound of alarms blared across the training field as smoke exploded from nearby detonators. A wave of simulated explosions rocked the area, sending soldiers scattering in all directions. The scene quickly descended into a cacophony of confusion. Soldiers running, shouting, trying to find cover while the enemy forces, played by other military personnel, began their assault. For most species, chaos like this would have been paralyzing, causing panic and disarray. But not for Earth's soldiers. Within moments, the humans sprang into action, moving with a precision that astounded the alien onlookers. Medics rushed to the injured, assessing and tending to their wounds with surgical efficiency. Combat teams quickly set up defensive positions, weaving through the smoke to secure their perimeter. Meanwhile, engineers and supply teams moved to work, constructing barriers and repairing damages under the threat of simulated enemy fire. The alien officials stood in stunned silence, watching as the soldiers coordinated their efforts with an uncanny level of clarity amidst the chaos. Communication channels were quickly established, and when they went down, Earth's soldiers switched to hand signals. Supplies that were running low were immediately replaced by improvisation, with soldiers finding creative ways to solve the problems presented before them. Varric stood motionless, his mandibles clicking together in rapid succession. This level of coordination. How do they think so clearly in such confusion? One of his aides muttered. Ronsky, standing off to the side, kept a close watch on the alien commander's reaction. He had anticipated that the demonstration would be a success, but the sheer scale of the alien shock was undeniable. For all their advanced technology, they had not expected humanity to thrive under the conditions they had created. They had come looking for warriors. Instead, they found something they hadn't anticipated. Soldiers who could think, adapt, and act with an unprecedented level of cohesion. The exercise continued for hours, each task more difficult than the last. Yet, time and again, Earth's soldiers rose to the challenge, each demonstration a testament to their resilience. By the end of the day, the aliens had seen enough. The Galactic Council had sent them here to assess Earth's potential, and now, there was no question. Humanity was capable of far more than the Galactic Military had ever given them credit for. As the final simulation came to a close, Commander Ronsky led the aliens back to their transport ship. The desert was bathed in the dying light of the day, the temperature dropping sharply as the sun set. But Ronsky could sense that something was still off. The aliens had been impressed by Earth's soldiers, but their true intentions remained unclear. Why had they sought Earth's help in the first place? And why had their reactions seemed tinged with something darker, something uncertain? Varric turned to Ronsky, his compound eyes narrowing. "You have exceeded our expectations, Commander," he said. "You are indeed capable, but we may have underestimated the cost of what you will be asked to face." Ronsky's heart skipped a beat. The warning was clear. The challenge was only beginning. The hidden truth. The final demonstration had concluded, and for Commander Jack Ronsky, the uneasy feeling in his gut only grew stronger. The Galactic Defense Force had been more than impressed by Earth's soldiers. In fact, they were stunned by the soldiers' ability to think, adapt, and thrive under extreme conditions. The tests had been a success, with humans outperforming expectations at every turn. However, despite the accolades, something was still off. There was a shadow hanging over the entire operation, and Ronsky couldn't shake the feeling that the aliens weren't being entirely honest with him and his people. As the galactic delegates boarded their massive transport ships, Ronsky stood with General Elena Voss and other high-ranking military officers, watching them leave the Nevada desert. The sky above had already darkened, casting long shadows over the dusty landscape. The ship's engines hummed low, and the air buzzed with tension. Something in the aliens' departure felt rushed, almost forced. Ronsky's mind raced with questions. The Galactic Defense Force had not anticipated that Earth would be capable of handling their military standards so easily, yet they had made no attempt to mask their surprise. Why had they come to Earth for help in the first place? Why was their need so desperate? And most importantly, why had they waited until now to bring humanity into the conflict? "We've passed the tests," General Voss said, breaking the silence. "But I still don't trust them, Jack. There's something they're not telling us." Did you see Varric's eyes when he saw the simulations? I swear, it was more than just surprise. It was fear. Ronsky nodded, his mind still churning over the events of the last few days. "I know," he replied. "That's exactly what I've been thinking. They wanted us to prove ourselves. But why did it take a force as formidable as the Galactic Defense Force to see what we can do? And why the secrecy? I've been in enough battles to know when someone is hiding something." They had been briefed about the alien species' urgency and their request for assistance. Yet, as far as Ronsky could tell, the galaxy-wide threat that they had mentioned seemed vague at best. The force that had destroyed the 3 civilian worlds. What was it? Who were they fighting? How had they managed to decimate entire planets with seemingly little resistance? All of these questions loomed unanswered. "I'm going back to the data center," Ronsky said abruptly, turning away from the group. "I need to see the Galactic Military's files. There's something in there I'm missing." As he made his way back to the command center, he couldn't help but feel the weight of his responsibilities pressing down on him. Earth had been thrust into the galactic spotlight, and now they were being asked to fight in a war they didn't fully understand. The power to save, or doom, billions of lives rested on their shoulders. He couldn't afford to be blinded by the promises of glory and advancement that the Galactic Defense Force had made. There was more to this than just fighting. In the data center, the dim glow of monitors illuminated Ronsky's face as he sat at a terminal. He typed in several commands, pulling up the latest intelligence reports on the Galactic Defense Force's ongoing campaigns. What he found made his stomach turn. It wasn't just the usual losses in a protracted war. The data suggested something far more sinister was unfolding. The reports detailed heavy casualties for seemingly trivial gains, entire planets lost without much to show for the effort. There were records of military fleets being lost, fleets that had once been considered invincible, wiped out by unknown forces. As Ronsky scrolled through the data, one report stood out among the others. It was marked as classified, yet somehow it had been flagged for review. He opened it, and as the screen filled with images of the wreckage of a galactic battle, his heart sank. The destruction was not the result of a conventional enemy. It was as if the fabric of space itself had been torn apart. The damage was catastrophic, and there was no clear explanation for it. "Jack, you're going to want to see this." General Voss's voice came from the doorway, interrupting his thoughts. She stepped into the room, her face set in a grim expression. She had already read the same reports he had been perusing, and she was just as troubled. "There's more going on here than they're letting on," she continued, taking the seat next to him. "I've been digging into the Galactic Defense Force's history. They're not just military leaders, they're planners, strategists. They don't make mistakes like this. And what's worse, this force they're afraid of doesn't even show up on any of their threat detection systems. It's as if this enemy isn't using any known technology. It's like they're just appearing out of nowhere." Ronsky rubbed his temples. The idea that the Galactic Defense Force, an organization with centuries of experience and technology far beyond Earth's, was being caught off guard by an unknown enemy was troubling. More than troubling, it was terrifying. How could they have been blindsided by something that didn't even register on their systems? "Have we heard from Varric or any of his team?" Ronsky asked. Voss shook her head. "Nothing. They've been eerily quiet since they left the desert, almost like they don't want us digging deeper. I think it's time we find out what they're hiding." Ronsky stood up, his resolve hardening. He could feel the weight of the decision he was about to make, but it was the only way forward. If the Galactic Defense Force wanted Earth to fight, Then they would have to come clean with everything. No more half-truths, no more secrets. They were not going to send humanity into a war blind. He glanced at the monitors again, his mind already racing with a plan. I'm going to contact our allies in the Galactic Council. I need to know everything about this mysterious enemy. There's no way the Galactic Defense Force has the full picture. Just then, a low beep sounded from the terminal. An encrypted transmission had arrived, one with a familiar sender's name. The coordinates attached to the message were from a distant star system, one located in the outer rim of the galaxy, well beyond the reach of any known galactic territories. Ronsky's heart skipped a beat as he read the transmission. It was a message from Varric himself. We may have underestimated your species, but the cost is greater than we anticipated. You must choose quickly. The enemy is not what you think. You cannot fight them with your weapons. You must fight them with your mind. Ronsky looked up at Voss, his face grim. This isn't just a war, Elena. It's a battle for our very survival. The truth was slowly unraveling, piece by piece, and with each passing moment, the situation grew more dire. It wasn't just about Earth's strength anymore. It was about understanding the true nature of the enemy that lay ahead. And Ronsky was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Because if the enemy was as powerful and elusive as Varric suggested, Earth might be the last line of defense in the galaxy. And if they failed, the consequences would be unimaginable.